Hey, so with what's been going on in the world of computers, I feel like uh, talking about this stuff. So, what am I talking about? How programmers should be using AI as opposed to how they're currently using it. So, now I'm not a professional software developer, or I haven't worked at a software company, but I use programming for a lot of things. Like I make small tools for myself and use it to create visual art and like game design and stuff like that. I like making games for myself. But basically, what I want to talk about is how people are using AI today, and it's making them dumber. It's supposed to make us smarter, but people are using it in the dumbest way possible. So, this is how AI should be used by programmers. No agents required. You can do this with any decent like Flash model which works fast, like Gemini or something. Like, I don't really use Gemini that much except for these things. So, let's go into it. This is a fully unstructured video because I'm not used to making videos. So, thank you for bearing with that. Anyway, so what makes anything good? Whether it's software, a movie, a piece of media. And the reason I'm making this broad is because if you think about it, AI generation, AI generated stuff is taking over everything. But we also know it's not up to the mark. And why is it not up to the mark? Because it's surface level. It's just statistically seeing the output and just trying to replicate that. But it's not really thinking about it. Even though it seems like it's so fluent and it's able to actually make decisions consciously, it's making decisions but statistically, and because of that statistic nature, it will always lack the internal thing which is not said or not put into form, which leads to the actual form getting created. So on this chart I have these green boxes which are like, let's say that's a human stuff, and the blue boxes is what the blue boxes are what the AI can help you with without making you dumber. Okay, and also improving your product or whatever you're making. So I don't think people should just tell the AI what to make. Like just telling it, yo, make me a video game, or make me like an app that does this, like a finished app, What I think would be far better is you use the AI and your curiosity and also your foresight for problems that happen but you don't have the solutions for. And you search for all these things. You can go through the documentation of any software, any programming language much faster, ask it more nuanced questions, like also like best practices. So, for example, any like good programmer knows that there's a naive approach to a problem and an optimized approach which is used in the industry. So, step 5, I would say, not step 1, but step 1 is you should have good systems design, which comes from your own knowledge and your own way of organizing reality, because that's what you're doing when you're coding or creating anything. You're creating a mini reality, and you have to set the laws of reality so that things don't go out of hand. So you have to understand best practices in the real world, because if you don't, your software will be very inefficient, or whatever you're creating just won't be up to the mark, right? So it helps you to understand what are the best practices out there, and I put it in quotes because a best practice might not be the best practice for you, but it's good to know what's out there. Then you can ask it for examples on how to use ambiguous functions, because sometimes functions are not named correctly, and sometimes documentation isn't very clear, and the answer is found in some forum somewhere. And because the AI has, like, I basically use Gemini, so I think because of the indexing, they probably have the biggest pool of the online resources, because they can just pull from it, right? So you can ask about some function in some language which is not operating how you expect. Then you can ask it, like, what are the things that will go wrong in your software beforehand. So, like, you can think of edge cases and querying about unfamiliar languages. So I have a very good example of this. So I use P5.js, which is a JavaScript library to make a visual art. I also use OpenCV to make visual art as well. So the OpenCV stuff, I use it more for video processing, because it's like there's more you can do out of the box, and it's like I can run it with Python, so it's faster than running it in a browser with JavaScript when I'm like processing video. So, but I don't like how the shapes look, like circles and rectangles, like primitive shapes. They don't look very good in Python. So I wanted to like take the video, like stream its data to JavaScript somehow, and like get it to make the like graphics, and then send it back to Python. So I asked the chatbot, I asked Gemini, how can I make a bridge between Python and JavaScript? So it's like, oh, you can use this library called Flask, which I had never heard of, because I'm not like a professional programmer. So I'm like, oh cool, there's something called Flask. So then I use it to make tiny components. I asked it to like basically make something in Flask which just talks to the I gave it my P5.js sketch. I'm like, yeah, this is my sketch, and I want you to make a thing which just talks to this and sends it an image. So it gave me the code, and then I looked through it and I tweaked it, and I like used that as like a tutorial to understand how Flask works. Okay, there's like a listening server, and it sends like a message to the server, and then the other side, like it's like a send receive on that like local server. So that's how you can use it to increase your human knowledge, then allows you to go further in your systems design. And the system design is something you do not want to hand over to the AI to do for you, because every system is tailor-made. Like every good system is tailor-made to its purpose. That's why there's so many game engines, because some engines work better at certain things than others, and certain engines were made for that specific game because they want to like do something in that game which maybe other people don't care about doing in their game. The general game engines don't cater to that, right? So you should always make the high level architecture yourself. You should just use this stuff to increase your knowledge and your vocabulary, so you can search for more things and like learn more and understand what is at your disposal. And you need the human experience in the sense of knowing what it's like to use things, and that will help you understand the philosophy of your specific tool or solution which you're providing, which will influence stuff like the user interface and all. And sure, you can use the AI to the user interface, but the idea of the interface should come from you, so that you can optimize it for a human. So then you can ask it to make tiny components, like that Flask pipeline which I told you about. Like that's one example. But you can even do it for stuff like making a small function because you just don't want to type and you're tired of typing. So it's like, make a function for this, make a function for that, and then you take those functions, clean them up, make sure they actually fit into your systems design, so that you can keep expanding your project in your own way. Like the code should make sense to you at the end of the day, so that you can change it because it's yours. You're not supposed to like just have it magically shit something out which you don't understand and you don't know what you can do with further. Like, and if something breaks, you shouldn't be begging it to like fix it. So I would say don't use those agents. Use Gemini, Flash, or something like that, like ChatGPT, like the basic free one, and just ask it to make something tiny, and then work it into your system. Because we think this stuff is magic and we want to use it in a magical way, but that's because it's all this. These deeper concepts are very mystical to people like us, and I mean, like, I like learning about this stuff, so I have ended up learning more than I knew before. But, and in that way, AI has helped me. But you should have that curiosity to like actually learn what's actually going on. So sometimes you don't even need to talk to it about your project. Just talk to it about like how does a computer actually handle memory, or how does like in this language when I load this, is it like what is the actual cost of it in terms of performance, or like what are some weird things that can happen, like, you know, which I didn't think of, which don't seem like they should happen but they do, because everything is not perfect. Like, all of these things have been made by someone. So, and then this thing is just like taking and statistically throwing everything together into like something which should work. But like much more experienced programmers than me will tell you that the code is quite horrible and it has a lot of problems, and you don't know the problems are there until they actually like crash the program or create a glitch, you know, like do something which it's not meant to do, and that can be very dangerous. So you should always have a reasonable understanding of all moving parts in your project. So what I mean by a reasonable understanding is, like, if you're using a library or something, you don't need to know how to make that library, but you should know how the library functions and like what is going on. If you just tell AI to like make something and like put 100 different libraries in there, and it's like trying to do stuff and throwing stuff from one to the other, you don't know how it's throwing stuff back and forth in like different sub programs. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that can go wrong, and the thing is, at the end of the day, why are you even doing that? Like, everyone else can do that. So people think, oh, I'm gonna like make the next big software and all. That has nothing to do with the speed at which you code it. It has more to do with like marketing and stuff like that. So yeah, like let's go on to the human side. So like, let's be more, use our brains and actually make stuff instead of just like expecting a vending machine to give you exactly what you want. So like, another thing you can use it for is make a very small tool which can help you in your normal workflow. So I have an example of this. So just one second, maybe I can show you. Okay, so I made this simple tool for myself, vibe coded it, because it's not something that's critical, right? So anyway, what it does is, I just upload a bunch of images and it just lays them out in this nice thing so I can post it on social media. So, you know, something like that. And then like, obviously I kind of told it I wanted to have, it's still not how I want, 100% how I want it, but it's good enough because I can take this and then I can just have to like crop this in Photoshop. I don't have to sit and place all of these in a grid. So it does save time. So like small things like that, you know, you can make like something like this to just make your life a little easier. But when it comes to your actual, like if you're making like a video game or something like that, you have to like think of the whole system, right? Like, you need to have like different manager classes, or like different, like supposing you're building a car or something, so you have to put all the components in the right way, and the components should match. Like, you can't have like a really powerful engine and the transmission is like, can't handle it. I don't know much about cars, but you know what I'm saying. You can't just like expect it to whip stuff together and that stuff to actually work. And the scary thing is, it does it. Like, even this is not a simple software in the sense of like having all this stuff. It's simple, like if you're an experienced programmer, but it's not like trivial, like but it can make it. And even so, like this is still buggy. There are bugs in this, but it's like I can overlook the bugs. But if you're making something to sell people, I think it shouldn't have bugs. Like, not something like which is like glaringly bad. Like, I can accept that from an open source software, you know. But even open source software like Blender is really nice. Like, it's so complex. And it was made without AI. So yeah, like I don't have much more to say, but I'm just saying that I'm not even a programmer, and I'm wondering why are people who are actual programmers, who it's their job to program stuff, they're getting paid to program stuff, and they're just not doing it. They're just vibe coding, or like just asking agents to go in a loop. I mean, it's already tough enough to control the AI in a prompt, so why would you loop prompts to itself? It's just stupid. Like, yeah. But yeah, if you try and understand why the world is how it is, it's not gonna help your peace of mind. So yeah, anyway, I think that's enough for this video. Let me know what you think.